Right, welcome to Vivid Dreams Month. I'm chatting with Gill Bauer. Gill, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you do?
Okay, so I am a kinesiologist and a Qigong teacher and a women's health specialist and a menopausal coach. And we're talking about dreams today.
Yes. Yeah, so a lot of us, as we go through perimenopause and menopause, start having some pretty crazy dreams, don't we? What's going on?
Well, let's have a look why we dream, because dreaming is really important, and some people do it really well. Some people do it, like you said, vividly, have vivid dream recall. Some people think they dream but they can't always remember, and we're all slightly different. So sometimes there can be vitamin deficiency, so vitamin B6 stops you recalling or remembering your dreams. So there's lots of different things that can impact from a neurochemical, our ability to dream. But let's have a look at why we dream. Dreaming is really important. It's the way the brain processes information, and it's about reconstruction information. So it's about experiences that we've experienced maybe over our life or even just that day. It's compartmentalizing and storing and filing those experiences and emotions and into memory, short-term and long-term. So I sort of think of dreaming as the brain's filing system. You know, it files away all the memories, all our thinking, all of our emotions and all of our experiences into its proper files. And really we need to dream to process. So what happens is, and so I think why maybe through the perimenopause we have specific dreams or more dreams, is that we are doing a lot of processing, aren't we? We're processing this whole journey of the menopause. Sometimes we can't do that during the day because we're overwhelmed or we're too busy with busy lives, with careers, juggling things. We don't have the time in the day to do the processing. So then that function almost happens during the night.
So, I mean, I've always had pretty vivid dreams, and but they're definitely full on, you know, since I've been in peri. And I noticed you put a post up the other day into the group asking what sorts of dreams people were having. Are there different kind of things going on, things that our body's telling us depending on the general theme of the dream?
So yeah, there are, in kinesiology we do something called dream analysis. So there'll be a theme, and we dream in colors, shapes, symbols, metaphors, and then we can find meaning out of those dreams. But there are common themes. So yeah, thank you to all the group that responded. It was such a fabulous response, and it gave me like a little survey of some of the things that people are dreaming. And you know, it was very interesting to see which of the dreams that most of us were having in perimenopause. And so intimacy came up, that was one. And then being late for an appointment came up. So I'm going to go through all A to H and give you a brief explanation of why you might be having those dreams and what they might mean, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so some people said, you know, like some people said they had two styles of dreaming, and of course when we dream it's individual. So if I had a client come to me for a kinesiology session and dream analysis came up, then I might have to get them to write down or journal their dream. And yet there might be an overall theme, but there might be really specific things that are happening within the dream. And then we use the journal to then try and find out exactly what's going on for this client. You know, what are they struggling with? What are they trying to come to terms with? What are they trying to process? Because when we're processing sort of trauma that maybe we don't want to go into. Maybe it's triggers that have triggered some kind of post-trauma, and then we're processing that trigger and we don't really want to go there. So it gives the client sort of a bit of a backstory to what their dream is trying to tell us. And dreams can be messages, guidance, warnings, or just give us a little bit of a heads up of what really is going on.
So remind us what the types, what the type of dream A to H were, and then we'll go through each one.
Okay, so these dreams I sort of thought were really specific more to menopause, and perhaps I've had these dreams myself during the perimenopause. So I thought, whenever I've had them, chances are other people have, and it looks like everybody has. So there's hundreds and hundreds of themes, but I thought these were more specific to the perimenopause and menopause. So A is action-packed type dreams, where you might even you feel like you're in a movie and you're the star, and you might be jumping, you might be climbing. It's very action-packed and dynamic. So that was number A.
Yeah.
Number B was moving house, redecorating, or there's a problem with a room in your house. So the theme is the house. So it could be any sort of something going on there, or a specific room. So sometimes I dream that I'm in my house, but unbeknown to me, there's a whole secret another floor to this house that I didn't even realize existed. And then I open the door and I think, oh my God, how comes I didn't know that I had all of these extra rooms? Or it's like I'm trying to create space within my house. So that comes up quite often with me. So that's number B. C is nightmares or night tremors. I think we've all had them at one point. Number D is sort of sleep paralysis, so that you feel that you can't move, or you're stuck, or you're trapped, or someone's holding you down, those sort of where you can't move in your dream, sleep paralysis. And then we've got either lost or left behind, which is E. Bedwetting, or imagining that, dreaming that you're going to the toilet. You know, you think you're getting up, you're going to the toilet, you think, oh, am I dreaming? Am I really having a wee? That sort of dream. Or menstruating. So that comes up quite a lot with perimenopausal women. And number G is being late for an important event, sort of being prepared. So you've got to do a presentation and you just don't know what you're going to talk about, and you're late and you're hurried and all things like that. And number H was intimacy. So there's 8 types of dreams that I sort of consider might be more specific to perimenopausal women.
I know I commented on that I get the action movie ones. Like, wow, I could write some serious blockbuster films if I could just remember everything that I dream. I've avoided a terrorist setting off a suicide bomb and then chased the suicide bomber after he has set off his bomb. I don't know how that works in practical terms, because you'd think one would lead to us not being able to chase him afterwards, but you know, and all through the London Underground network and all sorts, yeah. And you wake up exhausted, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's I think the general theme of these sort of obviously it's specific to you. So you've got the dynamics of, you've got terrorism there. So you might be watching the news and something might stuck. You know, you're processing a piece of information that you've heard during the day, and then you've added that into your action-packed movie dream. So the action-packed dream is where they leave you exhausted. So you wake up in the morning and you feel as if you've been jumping and leaping and running, and you might even wake up feeling totally exhausted. But the dream really is about you needing more energy to complete your goals. So, you know, in your dream, you have the energy that you need to tackle down a terrorist. Why aren't you putting that into your daily? Why can't you find that same energy to achieve your goals that you want during the day? So that's maybe an idea that you need more energy, or you've got too much energy, but it's not being directed like a film in any constructive way. So like a film, you have like scenes and shots that become added together to make the whole, which is a film. Maybe you're disjointed, or you're putting in the energy, but you're not getting the end result. So that sort of gives us a bit of a clue why we might repetitively keep having those dreams. So is that something that you can relate to? Can you relate to that you've got this energy, but maybe the film isn't being completed, the book isn't being written, the script hasn't been fully gone through?
I just don't have any energy in waking life. So clearly I'm using it all up overnight.
And that might be because you're having to process a lot and you're not giving yourself time to process that. So the energy that you need to get things done during the day is being utilized during the night when your brain does its filing to do all that really essential processing. So you are really working hard.
Yeah.
So you need to give yourself some gentleness in the morning, because you could think, wow, I've tackled a terrorist. I've like saved the London Underground. I've done all these things in my sleep. Maybe the next day I need to be a little bit gentle on myself.
Yes.
And so what happens is, when, as a kinesiologist, I have clients, and that's when we do the conscious processing. So things will come up within a session that they might need to focus and process on during the day, so that then they don't have to then do everything at night, where it becomes quite exhausting. So does that sort of give you can you relate to that?
Yeah, and I suspect when you go through the other ones, it'll link up with other things, and a bigger picture will come to light. So.
Yeah. So then, if you wanted a personal, then you would take a lot of the details, because each of those factors might have a really separate and unique meaning to you, because we use images and colors and metaphors for things. And so there could be, it's not real, you're not thinking about terrorists, but what does that mean to you as a metaphor? And so then we break it down, and then it becomes quite clear, and then we work with that.
Yeah. So dream type B, what's that all about?
Number B. So moving house things, rooms, problems, redecorating. So the house is a metaphor for our own body, and the room at the top of the house, either the loft or the attic or the bedroom, tends to be our intellect, our intelligence, or our higher consciousness. So higher up you go. So if you're walking upstairs or there's hallways, we're going up into our higher consciousness. But likewise, if you're dreaming of like your garden is or your porch or your entrance or your driveway, it's like the first thing people see when they walk past your house. If people are looking at you or you're greeting somebody, that's the first thing that they see. So it could be like you wanting to repaint the front of your house because it looks shabby. Do you know what I mean? And that might be a representation how you think that people perceive you, or you're worried about your exterior. But when we come inside the house, it's all about our internal aspects of self. And areas. So like kitchen is, where's your heart of your house at the moment? You're renovating. So, there's a lot going on there for you metaphorically, isn't there? But for most people, the kitchen is the heart of the house. So it might be around food and nourishment. And are you, is there sweetness in your life? And, do you need food for energy and things like that? So, specific rooms might have specific things. So the bedroom might come up quite a lot. Bedroom scenes might come up, which is different from the latter one, that intimacy, but it might be that you're going into your higher consciousness or your intelligence, because that is the highest room in your particular house. And like I say, I get the dream where I find secret rooms in my house that I didn't know existed.
And is there any anything particularly attached to always going to a specific house that you used to live in rather than your current home?
But then that might be something that you're processing as a child. So we retain so much data and information. And sometimes when we go into hypnosis or into a really deep state of relaxation, we can then recall that information for about the subconscious mind. So sometimes we'll go to a room where that has been a safe space, where happy memories, or there could be some kind of a trauma as well that might have been picked up. That so it could be both. There could be positive and negative reasons why we're picking a particular room. And then when we get into the rooms, so if you go into lucid or vivid dreaming and training yourself to be able to do that, then if you're going into a house and it's dark, you want to take a torch or a candle to illuminate that room so that you can see clearly. And if you're walking into a room, look in a mirror, find a mirror so that you can see who is it, whose house are you going into? Maybe it's not your own head that you're going into, you're trying to get into somebody else's head, like a partner or a friend that you've had some disagreement and you can't see their perspective, and then you're trying to get into their psyche to see things from their perspective. So there's a lot of metaphor for that one, and that comes up for me a lot. So I use tools. I look in the mirror, make sure I'm the one whose house it is, or I'll take a torch so I can illuminate things. And things like if there's cabinets or cupboards that are scary. So they, in psychology, there is this, we call it, is there a witch or a tiger, a princess in the wardrobe? So is there a witch or a princess in the wardrobe? You know, if we're a fearful person and we're very creative, you know, we're going to think there's a monster or a witch hiding in the wardrobe. But if we're very relaxed and calm and very neutral in our emotions, then there's nothing in the wardrobe, or there's something positive in the wardrobe. So literally opening doors, opening cabinets, we can be opening pockets in our mind as to fears and different things that are going on.
Because I quite often find myself, basically the basis of the dream is the house that we lived in from when I was 10 until mum and dad left there in 2004, I think. That is very often the basis of the dream, with all sorts of variations around it. But I quite often wake up thinking, oh yes, I must just pop and get whatever it was out of such and such a cupboard. I haven't gone to that house since 2004. I can't just go to that cupboard.
Are they happy memories? Or
yeah, all good.
Yeah, so then you're sort of, maybe if you're having a really bad day or you're really stressed and all you're thinking about is negative things, then we want to go and open doorways or cabinets that actually have really good positive memories and feelings and experiencing, so that we're not just full of doom and gloom and worry. We might think, well, do you know what, I want to access some really positive stuff. So you might be going back there to actually reignite yourself with some really positive feelings that you remember from that particular time.
A couple of times I've set up a really funky Airbnb in the garden. It's been really cool.
I know, it's amazing. So one of the things when we go into deep healing work is that we do this regression meditation, and you go back to 3 particular ages when you were as a child to mend and heal the inner child. So inner child work, which is part of the ego work. And you can go back into your bedroom and you can remember all the tiny details that you'd completely forgotten. And so I've done that before. I've actually gone back to 3 houses, 3 bedrooms at 3 different ages, and been able to recall the decoration, where furniture was, the window to the door, and it's almost as if you transpose yourself back into that space and time. And then you can do the healing. So we go back. So maybe that there's either some inner healing work, inner child work that we need to be done in that time, or maybe you're just opening doors to really happy memories so that your body remembers that it's okay to feel safe, it's okay to feel happy, it's okay to feel secure.
Yeah. What was the next category?
So C is night terrors. So night terrors are, some people just have that odd, so there's difference between nightmare and night terrors. Nightmares, you wake up and you might be like a bit sweaty and thinking, oh my God, that was a really horrible dream, that's really unsettling. But then you go back to sleep. Night terrors, you don't wake up, but you're just stuck in that night terror, and you can be screaming and thrashing around, but you won't actually wake up. And they say, like, if your child is having a night terror, don't wake them up, because they can become really confused and really disorientated. Because as we dream, we're going through different brain waves and different stages of the sleep cycle. And so some of these terrors happen in the REM cycle. And what happens is there's about 5 different stages, and we just keep going round. So we'll sort of come out of a wake state into a more restful, relaxed, and then we go deep into REM, and then we keep going round and round in circles. So a night terror is when we're in the REM cycles, and we get, it's called rapid eye movement, and we're just really accessing all different parts of the brain. And the brainwave it's very active. So that's when you're probably having your action-packed movie, when your brain feels as if you're taking a lot of information. It can be linked to mental health. It can be connected to depression, anxiety, any like extreme prolonged stress, PTSD, anything like that. It can also be triggered by jet lag, being overtired, alcohol, heartburn can trigger a night terror, you know, anything like that. So there can be different reasons for those types of dream. And then obviously the theme of the night terror is what we would then need to work with, and then, you know, break down the meaning of that. And it can be connected to hormones and neurochemicals, imbalances in the body as well. You know, too much adrenaline, not enough GABA or serotonin, and all, you know, those balances. So that might come up with night terrors. And if you've had them as a child, sometimes you have them as an adult, but sometimes you can grow out of them.
Wow.
So
I've been very fortunate. I've never had any.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of people that ticked that, but I don't know. But they said they had that as a child, so that would maybe be indicative of some post-traumatic stress disorder or some depression or anxiety that they've had as a child, that they might need to do some a lot of processing work about that, and then come in and have like kinesiology sessions to go back and to deal with that, process it during the day, so that they then don't have to process it at night.
Yeah. So what was the next type of dream?
Sleep paralysis, trapped, stuck, can't move. So these are sometimes called false awakenings, and it's almost like, as I talked about the different stages of the sleep cycle, we can get stuck between sort of going into REM or coming out of REM into wakefulness, and it's almost like a glitch in the brain. The brain gets stuck, can't come out of those two, and just, it might seem like you're stuck for hours, but it's usually only a couple of, you know, seconds that you're actually in that stuck state. And my husband suffers from this, and so he'd be like paralyzed, and all he could do is like move his mouth, and he'd be like, help, help.
Wow.
I didn't used to wake him up, but I used to just put my hand on his shoulder and say, it's okay, you're safe, go back to sleep, everything. And he'd like, oh yeah, and you just switch off. So I think it's just the body sort of, it's almost like a switch that the body sometimes does before it adjusts into wake and asleep, and it almost gets stuck. But that could be jet lag, dehydration, alcohol again, stress going on, and it's a little bit like a glitch. But and it can be connected to sleep apnea if you're not breathing, and so you might then have to go to a sleep clinic just to make sure that you're not holding your breath, because it is like a neurological glitch. And so that's that.
Cool. And what's next?
E is when you're lost or you've been left behind.
I saw quite a few people commenting on this one.
Yeah, so either you're lost and it'd be like the hall, when you're walking through the hall and then you turn, you know, it's like a maze, you're stuck in a maze and you can't find your way out, and you know there's a time thing, and there's a group of people over there, you're trying to get over from point A to get them, or they've left you behind, or there's that side of a dream. And it can be related to quite serious issues, like loss and rejection, which is quite a serious one. But it also means that you need to confront what it is that you're not confronting, because you're lost to yourself. You've lost yourself within whatever's going on, and that not being part of the group means that you're not whole, you're not together with yourself. So you could be, a situation's left you sort of in shock a little bit, and you feel fragmented or not completely whole in yourself. And we do this all the time. Things that we don't want to address either during the day, we have free will and choice not to deal with it at night as well. So it's just, I think that's just giving us a little bit of a clue that we feel rejected, there's some insecurity, we don't feel safe, and we become separated from ourselves to a certain degree. And so then self-love, self-acceptance, self-worth, all of those things we might need to do some work and process there.
And I can see why those ones would come up in peri, because a lot of people do feel very
isolated,
disconnected from themselves, disconnected from everybody around them. So yeah, that makes very good sense.
And then you throw in some hormones there, and then they're going to create a mixture too. Yeah, and I think this is why these come up specifically, because we're going through those things, and the conflict might be that, you know, all your friends are having children or menstruating, or and then all of a sudden you're not, you're separate from them to some degree, or they're all going through the menopause flying without any problems, and you're struggling.
Yeah.
And you know, it could be those sort of things as well. And you know, we're all different, aren't we? So like, you know, you'll see a friend and they just look absolutely glamorous in a black I've got friends that just could wear a black plastic bag and look amazing, you know, and I think, oh my god, you know, even I've got expensive dress on my head, I still don't feel like 100% glamorous sort of thing. But so it always seems like things are easier for everybody else, and everybody's having an easy time of it, and they're not suffering. But we really don't know what people are doing or experiencing behind the scenes or behind the facade. You know, they could look amazing from the outside and really struggling on the inside. So we just don't know, do we?
Yeah, absolutely. What's the next one?
Okay, so the next one is wetting the bed or weeing or menstruating. So a lot of bedwetting dreams where you actually wet the bed go back to childhood as well. So it's a bit like those night terrors. If you've had bedwetting as a child, then the chances are you might still have that. It can be due to a lack, or feel that there's a lack of control of what's going on. So if you can't control what's going on in your life, you can't control your own bladder. And normally what happens is we sort of have that dream that we're walking into the bathroom, you know, we're sitting on the toilet, and, you know, we're just about to go to the wee, and then you go, oh, am I actually on the toilet, or am I in my dream? And then you wake up just before and think, sugar, I'm in my bed, I need to get up and go to the loo. It can also be things like you've got the bladder is sending neurological messages to your brain, and it could be just that split second before you get that communication where you've got the urge to go to the toilet, and your bladder is receptor sites are sending a message up to the brain saying, right, your bladder's full, we really need to get up and have a wee now, you know. And then it's triggering that experience, and then you process it, and then it wakes you up. So it's sort of like it's almost like that glitch, it wakes you up from that sleepy state, and then you need to get up and have a wee. It can also be that you're needing to let go of toxicity, any toxic aspects of your life. So at 3 a.m. we have like a toxic dump in the body, and that's when we need to clear everything out. So if you're having those dreams, what's toxic in your life? What are you thinking that's toxic? What do you consume that's toxic? Who's toxic around you? What do you need to let go of? What do you feel that you're in control of? And things like that. So, and sometimes metaphorically, if you're spending too much money, it can be, from a metaphoric point of view, is you're wasting money. What are you putting down the drain? What are you tipping down the drain? You know, where's your money going? It's going down the toilet. So what are you doing that's wasteful, and that you're not holding on to your finances? So it's quite a complex one, that one. Multifaceted.
What was the next one?
But just as a sideline to that, blood comes up as well. So,
of course, yes, sorry.
So it's either urinating, and of course, if we've got weakened bladders and stress incontinence and things like that can happen because of low estrogen, we can actually have, you know, nocturnal urination and incontinence and things like that. And you know, it might not happen any other time. It could be just that the bladder's weak, so that could be connected to the pelvic floors as well. So the blood comes up when these are often morning dreams. So our dreams are filing, processing, memory, allowing us to deal with things that we can't deal during the day. We do it at night. But there can also be guidance and warning and messages. So blood tends to be a warning thing that there's something coming up, because blood is chi, blood is energy. You're losing energy, you're losing your life force, your chi, your Alexa. So if there is blood loss, then there is a loss of energy, a loss of life force in some way or another. And on the group, I posted that I was doing a training qualification, and to complete the training, like the end of the training, I had to go and do a presentation about I think it was about mental health actually, and I had to give a presentation on mental health. And that night I'd had a dream that I flooded and there was lots of blood, and I was at I had to do this presentation, and I had white clothes on and all the blood was coming through, and I was really embarrassed, and and I got myself into such a state that I couldn't get back to sleep. And I didn't feel that I was worried about doing this presentation. You know, I was looking forward to it. I was excited about doing it. And I didn't get any sleep, and I woke up with a migraine. So then I thought, oh, just no way, I can't drive an hour to this thing and then do an hour's presentation on a migraine. I'll be sick. So I phoned up and postponed and cancelled it and rearranged it. And then literally when I was having breakfast at 8:30 in the morning, I just completely flooded. And the clothes that I was in, the chair that I was in, just flooded with blood. And I'd never flooded before. That was the first time I've ever experienced, you know, I've heard women talk about it. And that was in the early days of my perimenopause. And I think that was a little bit of warning. Hang on, you're going to get a lot more of this. Prepared for that. And so I could have been 8:30, I would have been in my car, I would have had to turn around. So that was a little bit of a warning. And possibly my body knew that I was going to menstruate that next day. I hadn't connected the two. I think it wasn't my normal menstruating time. It was either 5 days early or something like that. So it wasn't, you know, so it was, there can be warning things, and maybe pay attention to what else is going on.
Yeah. So what was the next one?
The next one is that we're being late for an event. You know, we're panicking. We've got to do a presentation. You're hurried. You haven't got your paper. You don't know what you're going to talk about. And all of a sudden you're doing a presentation. So this is pent up anxiety, fear of change, fear of opportunities, feeling unready or unworthy, fear of failing, fear of messing up, fear of not having enough time, fear that you don't have what it takes. So that's a lot there, isn't it? There's a lot of fears.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that ties in with, you know, we hear about so many women getting kind of imposter syndrome, or not feeling that they're good enough at their job any longer and stuff like that. And, you know, if that's then showing through in the dreams as well as in everyday life, that's a lot to unpack, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I think the presentation thing means that it's more to your work environment. Mm-hmm. And maybe if you're late to pick your kids up, or you're late to get to the airport, or you're late for a wedding or something, then there might be more about the unworthiness and not, you know, about your relationship. So again, the theme, or maybe if you're meeting friends or you're meeting relatives or something, it could be feeling a failure or not living up to expectations put on you by other people rather than yourself. So yeah, you can, then you'd need like maybe a journal, and then we can make that really individual for specific people. So I do get that occasionally, I'd get that one occasionally. And then in my dream, I think, oh, sod it, just wing it. just do it. Just do, like, fake it until you make it sort of comes up. I just think, oh yeah, no, that's fine. I'll just, when I get up there, I'll know what to say, or I'll know what to do. And so even though I might be having those thought processes, there's another thought process saying, no, we're not going to allow this to control us or to stop us from doing what we want to do. We're going to override that. So I do have that tendency where I override that within my dream, and I carry on with the presentation nonetheless. Yeah.
Right, next one.
The last one is the one that came up the most, surprisingly enough, which is intimacy. So again, there's a large scope for this, because there's loads of different meanings for intimacy. So there can be emotional stuff, there could be spiritual stuff here as well, there could be past life, there could be astral traveling with this one. So this one is quite a deep and complex one. So, but just on a general one, we have, just like we can get this nocturnal incontinence, or this urge to go to the loo, we can also get nocturnal orgasms, where we have like wet dreams, which is more sort of common with those going through puberty and, you know, surging hormones or imbalanced hormones. So that there could be the opposite of that as we get older. So if we've never had them before, maybe they are just an imbalance. So I tend to think they're more connected to testosterone and maybe a surge or a drop. So you think about just before, you know, on a monthly cycle. I mean, perimenopause, it goes like that. It's a bit erratic, doesn't it? But on a normal monthly cycle, you know, hormones peak and then they dwindle away just before you menstruate. So then maybe that you're having those dreams just before you go into your menstruation, and or ovulation, where you're having that rise. So you're more probably going to feel fertile just before. And it can also come up around the moon, because the moon can have a pull on us as well. So there is a saying that women are most creative, the ovulation or on a new moon. Yeah. So you're more likely to become fertile and pregnant. That can also be creative. Sexual energy is very creative energy. It's very the divine feminine. So coming into your own power, your own energy. So that can come up with the intimacy as well. So hormones is definitely sort of linked to that as well. But I mean, it can just be things like if you've done a lot of exercise that day and you've got lots of blood flow, because I don't know if we did it together, but for arousal, the blood needs to go down from your brain to your genitals. So if you're aroused in your brain during the day, or you've watched something, or you've been titillated, or the idea, but then you haven't actually fulfilled that intimacy, that blood flow is still sort of permeating down. So if you're dreaming, then that can go down to your genitals, and then you can have like an orgasm during your dream, and that's what's called a wet dream. So there can be hormones related, or something you've watched a program that might have been a bit titillating, and that sort of got you aroused, and that sent blood flow down to the genitals, and that can have a link. So this, obviously it means that there is a lack of or a need for more intimacy. And maybe during the day you're too tired, you haven't got the arousal, or your libido isn't what it should be during the day, but you're still expressing this arousal and this libido, and it comes up again when you're processing it through your dreams. So it's almost, what we want to do is flip it, don't we? I'm super aroused, you know, when I'm having a sleep or when I'm dreaming, but let's flip it so that we can utilize that energy. And so there is a lot around this. So sometimes what comes up is on a spiritual level, what can happen is that if you've got a soulmate or somebody that you're really close to on a soul level, it feels like you're having sex on the astral plane, but you're not, you're just merging and blending. So that can be where you meet somebody that on a spiritual level, and there's that embracing and that intimacy, but it's because you can't conceptualize spiritual intimacy, it comes out as a sexual intimacy. So that's like a blending and a merging. So like we sort of sometimes astral travel. So dreaming and astral travel are very same on the same line. Conscious, from a conscious level, you sort of leave your body to a certain degree. So that's an interesting aspect as well. So if if you're having intimacy with an ex or a film star or somebody random, or it could be that that person is known to you on a soul level, and it's your soul having intimacy, but we can't conceptualize what a soul feels like when they're having intimacy. So we put it into the context of what human intimacy is. Okay. So it'd be interesting. There's lots of different ones to this. Yeah. And there could be that you're intimate with somebody of a different sex, and then you might think, oh, perhaps I'm secretly attracted to different sex types, but that might be the soul person that you're attracted to. It doesn't matter what sex they are. Or there might be this need to express your sexuality more, and it's just a metaphor that you're using to help you explore that. Wow. You need more feminine sexuality, or you need more masculine sexuality. So there's a lot of yeah, so that one come up the most, so it's interesting. But then what's happening to us through the perimenopause? So our sexual organs, our sexual hormones. So of course that's going to come to the surface to need some kind of fulfilling. And sexual energy is creative energy, so you're creating through that intimacy. Think about tantric energy is very like waves of just bliss, which if you have tantric waves of bliss, it feels like an orgasm.
Yeah.
But your body might be needing that bliss.
Wow. I feel like there's just, obviously for each individual, there is so much to look into for an individual dream and what's going on with that person. But this has been so interesting, just as an overview. I know we could go on for hours, but I'm aware that, you know, we mustn't take up all of everybody's time. But no, that's been brilliant, Gill. Thank you so much. And when we share this into the group, if anybody has any dreams that they want a bit more information about, you know, feel free to shout, feel free to reach out. And they
can contact me direct if they've got a specific dream, and then I can analyze them, and then, you know, obviously that would come into a kinesiology session. Or, you know, we could do a whole big workshop on this, because animals come up. We haven't even tackled like power animals when they come into your dreams and what their spiritual messages they're bringing and stuff like that. So I always dream of animals. Animals are always weird animals. I think, why am I dreaming of like that particular animal? And then when I look it up, it's like, I need this in my life. I need that quality. I need to have that. So dreaming of power animals. Yeah, we could do a whole workshop on this. So if you want more information and you'd like us to do a workshop, then obviously let us know and we'll provide it.
Simple as that. Gill, thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next time.